Early one morning in northern Kenya, three wild bull elephants slowly emerged from the bush and made their way toward the Ithumba Reintegration Center, operated by the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. They weren't searching for food, they weren't following a migration route. All three carried fresh poison arrow wounds, and one of them had been injured so badly that every step had become slow and painful. Instead of avoiding people, as wild elephants almost always do, they walked directly toward a place where injured elephants had been treated for years. Wildlife veterinarians examined the animals, removed damaged tissue, cleaned the wounds, and successfully treated all three. But the medical treatment wasn't the most remarkable part of the story. The real mystery began much earlier. Northern Kenya is covered by thousands of square kilometers of wilderness. The elephants could have disappeared deeper into the bush. They could have avoided humans, just as wild elephants normally do. Instead, they chose to walk toward the one location where people had spent years rescuing injured elephants. Why? How could completely wild elephants know that humans at this particular place might be able to help them? That question becomes even more puzzling when you consider one simple fact. Wild animals usually avoid humans whenever they can, walk through a forest, and most animals disappear long before you ever notice them. Birds take flight, deer slip silently into the trees, even large predators often avoid unnecessary encounters with people. For most wild animals, keeping their distance is part of survival. So why would an injured elephant make the opposite decision? And perhaps an even bigger question, are elephants the only wild animals that have ever approached humans under extraordinary circumstances? To answer that, we need to leave the African savanna and travel thousands of kilometers into the open ocean, where another remarkable encounter would leave marine biologists asking a very similar question. The elephant story isn't the only case that has puzzled scientists. Over the years, divers have reported several unusual encounters with wild dolphins. One of the most remarkable happened while a group of divers was exploring underwater with flashlights. As they scanned the water ahead, a bottlenose dolphin suddenly swam into the beam of one diver's light. Instead of swimming away, it remained there, almost as if it wanted the divers to keep looking. At first, nothing seemed unusual, but the dolphin refused to leave. It stayed directly in front of the divers, slowly turning its body from side to side. That's when they noticed the problem. A large fishing hook was deeply embedded in its body, with fishing line trailing behind it. Every movement pulled the hook tighter. The divers carefully moved closer. Surprisingly, the dolphin remained calm. It didn't try to escape, it simply stayed in place, while the divers worked to remove the hook and cut away the tangled fishing line. Only after the hook had been safely removed did the dolphin swim away. Researchers have documented several similar encounters involving dolphins tangled in fishing gear. Scientists don't know exactly what the dolphins were thinking, but these cases suggest that, in rare situations, an injured dolphin may tolerate close human contact instead of avoiding it completely. For marine biologists, that raised another fascinating question. If dolphins can sometimes behave this way, could even larger marine mammals make similar decisions? Some humpback whale mothers have been observed doing something that surprises even experienced marine biologists. Instead of keeping their calves away from humans, they sometimes bring them remarkably close to slow-moving research boats. In several documented encounters, curious young calves have approached boats on their own. Some have even come close enough for researchers to gently touch them. For an animal that is normally extremely protective of its young, this behavior is highly unusual. A newborn humpback calf is vulnerable. Its mother usually stays close, carefully watching everything around it. So why would she allow her calf to approach something as unfamiliar as a human boat? Scientists don't have a definitive answer. One explanation is simple curiosity. Young whales are constantly exploring the world around them, and boats may simply become another object they choose to investigate while their mothers remain nearby. But some researchers have suggested another interesting possibility. For centuries, whales were hunted across many parts of the world. In many regions today, commercial whaling has ended, and younger generations of humpback whales are growing up under very different conditions. Instead of regularly encountering hunting ships, they are more likely to encounter research vessels, wildlife photographers, or rescue teams that observe them from a distance, or in some cases help free whales that become entangled in fishing gear. Because humpback whales learn many important behaviors from their mothers, including migration routes, feeding grounds, and communication, some scientists have wondered whether repeated experiences around humans might also influence how future generations respond to boats. At the moment, there is no conclusive evidence that whale mothers intentionally teach their calves to trust humans or seek help from them. However, researchers continue to study whether positive experiences with humans can gradually influence whale behavior across generations. Whatever the explanation may be, these encounters suggest that the relationship between humans and whales is far more complex than scientists once believed. And whales aren't the only wild animals capable of forming an unusual relationship with humans. In East Africa, one small bird has been doing exactly that for thousands of years. In the Nyassa woodlands of northern Mozambique, local Yao honey hunters have followed the same tradition for generations. Whenever they head into the forest to search for wild honey, they don't begin by looking for bees. Instead, they call for a bird. Using a distinctive call, the hunters wait. If a Greater Honeyguide hears that sound, it often appears within minutes. The bird flies ahead, then stops. It looks back, waiting to see if the hunters are still following. Then it flies again. Step by step, the Honeyguide leads them deeper into the woodland until it reaches a hidden beehive. The hunters use smoke to calm the bees, collect the honey, and leave behind something they don't need. The beeswax, broken honeycomb, and bee larvae. Exactly the food the Honeyguide was trying to reach all along. Neither species could do the entire job alone. The bird knows where the hive is. Humans know how to open it. It's one of the rarest examples of a true partnership between a wild animal and humans. Scientists wanted to know if this cooperation was real or simply a coincidence, so they tested it. Researchers played the traditional Yao honey hunting call and compared it with other human calls. The results were striking. Honeyguides responded much more often to the familiar local hunting call than to ordinary speech or unfamiliar calls, suggesting they had learned to recognize the signal of a reliable partner. This wasn't an animal asking humans for help, it was something even more remarkable. A wild bird and humans had learned to work together, with both benefiting from the same journey. But cooperation isn't the only unusual relationship humans have with wild animals. Sometimes, an animal's behavior raises an even more difficult question. Can a wild animal recognize when a human's life is in danger? In October 2017, marine biologist Nan Hauser was swimming in the waters of the Cook Islands when a giant humpback whale suddenly appeared beside her. At first, she wasn't worried. She had spent nearly 3 decades studying whales and had been in the water with them many times before. But this encounter felt completely different. The whale refused to leave. It repeatedly nudged her with its head. Several times it gently lifted her above the surface. Whenever she tried to swim away, the whale followed her and pushed her in another direction. At one point, the whale even placed one of its massive pectoral fins against her body, making it almost impossible for her to swim where she wanted. Nan later admitted that she believed the whale was attacking her. An adult humpback whale can weigh more than 30 tons. Even a gentle movement from an animal that size could seriously injure a person. The encounter continued for almost 10 minutes. Finally, the whale guided her close enough to reach the research boat safely. Only after climbing back on board did everyone notice something they hadn't seen before. A tiger shark had been circling nearby throughout the entire encounter. The whale had repeatedly positioned itself between Nan and the shark, blocking the predator whenever it came closer. The incident was captured on video and quickly spread around the world. Marine biologists began analyzing the footage in detail. Interestingly, humpback whales have been documented protecting seals, sea lions, dolphins, and even other whale species from attacking killer whales. But protecting a human was something almost no one expected. Scientists still can't say for certain whether the whale intentionally recognized Nan was in danger, but the behavior matched protective actions that humpback whales have displayed toward other animals many times before. The encounter remains one of the most extraordinary human-whale interactions ever recorded, and it leaves one final question. Are all of these stories simply remarkable coincidences, or is there a scientific explanation connecting them all? By now, we've seen elephants walking toward humans for treatment, dolphins remaining still while divers removed fishing hooks, humpback whale mothers allowing their calves to approach research boats, a small bird guiding people to hidden beehives, and a humpback whale appearing to protect a diver from a tiger shark. At first glance, these stories seem completely unrelated, but to scientists, they all raise the same question. How do wild animals decide when a human is a threat and when a human might actually help? Researchers believe there isn't a single answer. Different species rely on different abilities. Elephants are known for their extraordinary long-term memory. Dolphins are capable of recognizing individual animals and solving complex problems. Humpback whales live in highly social groups and learn many behaviors from one another, and the honeyguide bird has learned that cooperating with humans leads to food. In every case, one thing stands out. These animals don't approach every person they see. Their behavior changes only under very specific circumstances. Sometimes they're injured, sometimes they're trapped, sometimes years of repeated positive encounters may influence how they respond. Scientists call this behavioral adaptation, when an animal gradually changes its behavior based on experience rather than instinct alone. Even today, researchers continue studying these remarkable encounters because every new case helps answer a question that science still doesn't fully understand. How much do wild animals really know about us? And perhaps an even bigger question, could there be many more stories like these that we've simply never had the chance to witness?